Super weird. Hey everyone, how are you? That was super weird. I had some tech issues with my streaming, but hey, it worked. So happy days. I'm with you. I should be on the Reason the Road page, hopefully for any of you that are watching. Let me just get everything a bit sorted out because I wasn't quite ready that it was going to work. Here we go. So I'm with you. So for those that have been watching along, I'm doing a series on leadership skills of the future. Thank you for being part of it. For those that are watching afterwards, I'm going to speak for about 5 minutes today on a skill that's going to be required as disruption continues to occur in the world and we are facing digital transformation and climate change transformation. So the two big forces that are continue to disrupt the way business is done and the way leaders have to respond. And I'm going to look at a whole bunch of skills that are going to be required. Last week, what I looked at was head, heart, and gut decision-making. And this week, what I'm going to look at is empathy in decision-making. So I'll just share this with you so you can see it for yourself. This is the plan. This is what we're focused on. This is the work we're going to do. So I encourage you to follow along the 9-part series. If you can't, you can either watch the replays or if you're on my email list, I send this out during the week. So if you either want to be on the email list, send me your email, comment below. If you are happy watching the replays, then let's fire ahead. So we covered this one last week, which was head, heart, gut decision making. And this week, the focus is on design processes. So one of the things that as automation occurs and we use more technology is about being able to deeply engage and use your empathy skill to design new processes and design new products and design way things are going to work for people. So last week, we talked about human skills and technical awareness, and that 3 of the core human skills when you're making decision making are being able to use your head, heart, and gut to balance logic, ethics and morals, but also then being responsive and listening to your inner voice. All right, so and balancing those 3 up. If you want more info about that, let me know, or look on the thread and you can find a link. What we're doing this week is deep empathy. Oops, let's change the color there. And here's the thing, which is that if you think about the projects you're currently running, what I want you to think about is the balance. Okay, imagine that's a set of scales that can go up or down. What's the balance for you around the amount of time that you spend on the inputs? So you think about that, that's actually planning, it's consulting, it's understanding what's required before you move into build construction, implementation. And that's when you get the sense of the current balance of that for you, right? Is it 50-50? Is it 80-20? Now, here's the truth as digital transformation happens, as robotics are enabling us. Well, here's my truth. It's not the truth. Here's a truth. You can work out what your truth is. My truth is this, which is that as the digital transformation helps us do more of this, and this becomes over time faster and less manual. What we as humans have got to become really good at is design and creativity. Being able to use our skills in our projects to be able to build things and instruct the machines, the robots, the automated processes and systems to be able to build things in a way that they work for people. That's the context of my session today. And what I think we do is that often in that balancing, we also get the balance between really understanding deeply the user experience versus the function and feature requirements that we need. And so you think about different companies Okay, give you some examples. You know, think about Dollar Shave Club, right? So amazing idea, which is all about just the unique insight that people don't, you know, they like regular fresh razors sent to them. They don't need to go to a shop, and it's not something they really want to think about. So that ability to think, have an insight about the user experience, but also meet the functional requirement was important, but it's actually usually the insight or having empathy for the user experience and what the customer's problem is that makes the biggest difference. If you think then about the difference between Apple and Microsoft, you know, I don't want to get in this debate, but this debate. But you know, you think about the fact that Microsoft technically is probably a bit the same. I know that's a big call, but you know, technically, in terms of this stuff, you know, equal. But the difference with Apple, with all their range of products, is the focus they have on user experience, user design, the beauty of their products. As you think about Uber, as an example, you know, functionally gets us from A to B, right? But had the unique user insight that, you know, we want the taxi to turn up on time, and we want to be able to track their arrival. And we don't want a stinky taxi, by the way, was the other main one. You notice that people always keep their vehicles really clean with Uber. But those user insights about the experience that was broken informed the way the transport was put together, which is the Uber vehicle. So let's just review what we've covered so far, which is this is all about your ability to build your skills in using empathy to create and build things that are incredible, so that when the construction and build part of this is automated, you create things that are amazing for people. Think about the fact that companies that are being really successful now are disrupting or changing the expectations of people's user experience, and then delivering a fit to requirement or a functional service that supports that. But it's usually an insight on this left-hand side that drives then the delivery of the product. Now, I want to talk about the shift. So this is the shift that I would ask you to make. So every great change in human endeavor requires a shift in thinking, something that breaks through. I think the shift is that companies that are being really successful is, rather than being a solution generated company. Now think here, for anyone who's read it, you know, you think anyone who's heard of Start With Why, Simon Sinek's a little bit more famous than me. You probably have heard of him. He talked about this as well, so it's probably not, I'm probably in some way stealing or borrowing his idea. But the shift, and I'm using different language, but the shift here is that rather than being champion of the solution, the way we design amazing things is to be champion of the cause. Now, you know, if you think about the fact that Uber is a champion of easy transport from A to B, Dollar Shave Club is a champion of clean, efficient razors delivered week to week. You know, maybe it's a champion of amazing facial hair. I don't know, but you think about then, like, who gives a crap? Who is a champion of the environment? How do they do that? Through delivering toilet paper to you week to week. If anyone's heard of that, it's a subscription toilet paper service. And Apple is the champion of clean, beautiful things that work. Right? Everyone is shifting to being the champion of cause, not necessarily the champion of a solution. If you become the champion of a cause, you earn the right to deliver a solution. Make sense? You understand the cause, you understand the problem, the thing to focus on by deeply understanding or empathizing with your consumer or your customer. It's a skill we're going to need in the future as the build and production and all that sort of stuff gets more automated. The way you can do that is by thinking about 4 things to do with your customer. All right. First one is this: understand their pain points. What's their away motivation? What are they annoyed by? All right. What are the pain points that annoy them about their experience? The second is, what is the impact of that pain on their daily life? At a really practical level, what is the impact of that on their daily life? Now, try to understand the aspirations of your target customer. What do they want? What do they need? How would they like things to be different? And what's the payoff if they had something new, if they had something different, if this was different for them? So let me just review the idea here. The idea is this, which is that as we move into a new digitally driven world where we're going to have to design projects that build empathy with people, we're going to have to spend more time on the inputs, getting things right, really focusing on people and their experience. And companies are disrupting user experience all the time by looking at the pain points, the problems, and designing new ways for people to receive a product that they've been done before, but they're becoming a champion of a cause. They're the champion of that customer, and they're champion, and they believe in something. They just happen to provide a solution that fits in line with that cause. Now, for you to do this, I would advise that you spend a bunch of time and workshops here in understanding 4 things about your customer: their pain points, the impact of those pain points, what their aspirations are, and what is the payoff of those aspirations. What do they really get? So that you can deeply engage and empathize with your customer and build better products. Hope that's been useful. Again, if you want to get in touch with me and talk about design, to talk about empathy and how I do this, please feel free, and we can have a talk about your business and what you need, what your leaders need right now. Love your work. Talk next time on The Reason and the Road. Cheers. Bye.